our token male of our speakers, and we are so excited. I can't wait to hear your speech. So we're gonna throw the floor for you.
It's all
Floor is
you.
yours.
Thank you so much.
All right.
It's always good to be an outlier. Listen, 3 years ago, my life was totally transformed because I ran into a great man that shared with me the secrets of building wealth in the hedge fund space. And I'm so excited to share with all of you here today as well so that you can finish 2025 strong and have a fresh start to 2026. I know there were a lot of topics ranging from alignment, hustle culture, pivoting, all those good things. But I'm here to bring you a unique perspective in how you can build wealth. But let's first start with a precision mindset in how surgeons operate in the OR room. My story, once upon a time, started from Hong Kong, the city of international commerce, where I was supposed to take over my dad's accounting firm. But I said, thanks, no thanks, because one, I did not want to wake up in the city as I'm a city boy that loves the suburbs. And two, I did not want to wake up and do people's taxes. And so when my dad was like, okay, kiddo, what do you want to do? I said, I have no clue. Let me explore the medical field and go from there. Now, at the time, being a surgeon was the only thing that resonated with me because of the hands-on aspects, the lucrative salary aspect, and the intellectually challenging aspect. But I'm going to be honest with you, it was not the best thing for me. And I didn't find out until later, after college, once I had been super immersed in the medical field, and I realized something had to change. See, as a Jayhawk who got indoctrinated to the University of Kansas ever since I was 16, as I navigated through college, I realized long term that I wanted to own an NBA team. And in order to accomplish that feat in today's market, you need a minimum of $5 to $10 billion. And so no matter how lucrative a surgeon's salary is, that will never get the job done because you're only looking at $500,000 plus minus with the exchange of operating in the OR rooms all day, every day. And for me, that did not sound like a life that I want to live, right? Doing surgeries all day, having six, seven figures in the bank account, but really no freedom. And I think that is the power of wealth at the end of the day is that it allows all of us to live life according to our own accords. And that's why I'm so excited to share with you today the important lessons that I have learned in my journey when I pivoted from being a surgeon to a CEO of private investment firm. Because right here, when we talk about this space, this is the ultra wealthy environment. And you guys don't even know it, right? If you Googled and researched Forbes, you're going to find that what I'm about to tell you is only usually reserved for the world's top 42%, where they are mainly in the finance and investment space. And generally speaking, if you wanted the same access, either you got to be super immersed in the financial districts of the world, or you got to know someone that knows someone. Unlike fellow hedge fund managers who are just super obsessed about growing their fund and AUM numbers, we're here to democratize access to this space so that regardless if you do anything with these markets, you can at least have a chance to take advantage of them through the proper exposure and awareness that you all deserve. Listen, colleges are meant to produce employees. Typical career fairs are not going to talk about what I talk about. Just in the fund space, there's venture capital, private equity, real estate syndication, and hedge funds. And let's do a quick poll. From K to 12, who here has heard about any of these things in depth? Probably not all of you. Again, why? Well, it's because the system, the government, the society that we all live in, whether you're in Thailand, in different states, in North America, in Canada, it is private wealth. It is safeguarded information because the government wants to keep you as a cog in the machine. But we're going to change all of that here today. Okay, so let me give you from a high level overview, right, some reference points so that you can not only listen to me and know that this is the real deal, but there are other examples for you to cross-reference as well. First and foremost, feel free to look at the name John Arnold. And by the way, I just want you to remember, Okay, if you don't remember anything from this talk, this is the name, and we're here to talk about the importance of leverage in a really precise manner. Leverage is the thing that will allow you to not only grow and scale your business, but be more hands off and maximize not just profits, but time. A lot of people talk about how time is money. Time is not money. You know why? Because when you lose time, you can never get it back, but you can always make money. So as an asset, time is actually worth more than money. And here's the deal. There's a gentleman by the name of John Arnold who took 1.5 million to 1.5 billion in 2.5 years, trading the commodity natural gas the right way. Right? He was coined the youngest self-made billionaire in the US at age 33 back in '07 because of this amazing feat. Now, he's not the only one, like I mentioned. There's a gentleman by the name of James Simmons who recently passed away last year at the age of 86. The most amazing thing about Mr. James Simmons is that he was able to amass $30 billion worth of wealth in just 15 to 16 years. And he didn't even get his start until his late 60s. And the reason he was able to accomplish that is because he was a pioneer in our field that figured out automated software trading across multiple markets. That's, again, only very few examples that I can name off the top of my head that you can Google on your own. There's also Stephen Schofield, Stephen Cohen, and also Ken Griffin of Citadel. Now, a lot of you, I think there was a gentleman here that's coming out of retirement, and yes, there is. There's always hope. I think that was you, Roy. There's always hope for everyone. Listen, this game can be played by anyone. It's just exposure and awareness. Okay, so how it works is this. Usually speaking, when you talk about investing in the markets, the first thing that comes to your mind is stocks and equities, right? Stocks and equities. But lo and behold, it is the least profitable asset class, and they will never tell you that. All right. Futures and commodities is known to be a higher risk and more volatile asset class. That's why most financial advisors and people in the financial space will tell you to stay away from it. But it's mainly because of lack of education and lack of proper navigation. And that's why they think it's too risky, right? But if you know what you're doing, very similar to diagnosing x-rays, CT scans and MRI scans and medicine, if you can diagnose these charts the right way, you can actually convert these markets into your own ATM machine, personal ATM machine. And just like any high income skill sets, the more you get better at this, then guess what? That ATM machine can become your own bank. And this is a way of creating wealth in a precise way that frees you up from having to always chase clients, having to create systems and processes. Because in this way of creating wealth, not only do you have direct access to the markets, but if you catch the volatility right when it's happening, right, the first 2 hours of the market opening, there's a lot of opportunities where you can literally print money for yourself and then have the rest of the day freed up to do whatever you want. I know this is going to sound crazy, but I've got two amazing case studies that just came in. As a matter of fact, I was able to do a podcast interview with one of them. Okay. But Dr. Joe, after 4 months of navigating this, learning how to navigate the futures and commodity financial markets the right way, was able to take $5,000 to $5 million. $5,000 to $5 million. And the other gentleman, Mr. Charles, he took $70K to $900K in 5 weeks. By week number 6, it hit $1.212 million. And again, why is this possible? Well, it's because of proper leverage. See, a lot of people don't understand, if you just Googled popular brokerages to trade futures and commodities out of, a popular brokerage called Interactive Brokerage will come up. And in order to trade one contract of the Dow, gold, and oil respectively, we're talking $17,000, $24,000 all across the board, right? 12, 17, and 24,000. But if you know what you're doing and you know how to leverage a specialist brokerage, which is what we recommend, then you can actually get in for as low as $500, $1,000, and $2,000. And even if that is a little bit too much for you right now, you can get started for as low as $50, $100 and $200 in the micro markets. I'm here to debunk a lot of myths and misconceptions. Again, this is not what your typical college curriculum and career fairs will tell you. Even with real estate, a lot of investments in real estate is going to take at least five figures, right? 25K for a down payment, and you're looking at 3 to 5 years to maybe break even, get profitable, and then you're looking at, from the ROI standpoint, right, anywhere between 8 to 12% on an annual basis. Well, what if I can tell you, if you learn this game right, you can learn how to get 5 to 10% return a day from the markets directly, utilizing your own skill set, right? No AI, no algorithm, just your brain. And this is a skill set that will never, ever go away because you have it for the rest of your life. So how is it possible? Well, there's two things, like I mentioned. Number one, leverage through the proper brokerage. That is so important because if you don't even have that right brokerage, you're going to have to put in way more money at five figures minimum to get started, right? That's number one. Number two, you got to make sure you trade the right markets as well. See, when it comes to commodities, cotton's all cute and fluffy, right? You would think that it has no harm to you. But in order to trade one contract of cotton, we're talking about like a couple $1,000s, even at the specialist brokerage that I'm talking about, right? So if I was to zoom out, you also are going to need, outside of this nitty gritty information, is a leverage in the right mentorship so that that mentor can give you that can put you in the right direction and trajectory and compress all the possible mistakes, trial and error that you would have to go through in order for you to realize the life of your dreams. That is the exact same thing that happened to me. I was rock bottom. I don't know how many of you had hit rock bottom before, but I thought I was going to be a surgeon. I was KU's pre-med triple major in 5.5 years. I did all these things. I sacrificed basketball. I was going to be on the basketball team, but I sacrificed basketball because I said I have to focus on my career. And it caused me so much pain because of the love that I have for the game, but I had to sacrifice it. And, my relationships took a toll. I really had no clue what I was going to be doing. I ended up taking on this master's, which was a total facade. I'm just going to be honest, right? It was really what I call a self-directed MBA to give myself an opportunity to reflect and identify possible pathways for me to actually move forward. While I was telling everyone, yeah, I'm doing the master's thing under KU Med so I can go be a surgeon. But deep down, I knew that I need to be an MBA team owner. That is my calling. That is my passion in terms of personal goals and dreams, right? And it was only a dream until I met this gentleman who totally changed my life. He's a former internal medicine physician who not only pivoted out of medicine, but he had the opportunity to learn from the great man John Arnold that I mentioned. The gentleman that took 1.5 million to 1.5 billion in 2.5 years, right before he became a billionaire, like several years before. And that's where, I was like, wow, okay, I had all of this agenda. This was literally November of 2022. I attended a high caliber business event in a high caliber business room because I knew that if I did that and I invested in myself, if I put myself out there with high quality environments, my probability and odds of success will probably go up, right? And so when I did that, it was November 30th of 2022. And I had went into the event with a perfect plan by plan outline of what I was going to do in 2023. Well, guess what? Everything changed when I ran into this hedge fund manager who was a former internal medicine physician and also an international city boy born in London. So I'm like, okay, well, let me assess his methodology and really pay a closer look to see if this makes sense. Because when it comes to investing, let's be honest, there's a lot of fake gurus and scams out there. So I really had to do my due diligence and put my surgery hat on, right? I had to dissect this thing to figure out how real is this. And after a month of assessing not only his teaching, but his performance live, where he does it live in front of you, I was like, okay, you know what? Sign me up. I'm going to go learn and become a client. And in the first months, it was amazing. I took a couple $100 to over a couple $1,000. But more importantly, it was during those intimate client conversations that allowed us to realize, hey, there might be a possible alignment here for us to become business partners. And guess what? We gave our business partnership 1 month of a test trial. He ended up delivering, I ended up delivering, and after 3 months, I earned my way into bona fide president and CEO. Now, I did not just make that happen overnight. I want to be very clear with you. Before I attended the event on November 30th and I signed on to be a client on December 30th in 2022, I was already a walking compilation of programs. I was already a walking compilation of getting mentored. During my master's, my self-directed MBA, I went after 20 different online mentors relentlessly because I knew I had to figure out my actual trajectory, despite me telling everyone I was going to be the surgeon that I was going to become. And I ended up binge watching Shark Tank so I can indirectly hang around with Mark Cuban. I looked up all the books that start with billions because you can do that with Amazon and Audible just to learn from fellow billionaires. I signed up for all these programs, and ultimately I landed with my top three mentors: Grant Cardone, John Maxwell, and Alex Hermosi, on top of Mark Cuban, of course, right? And Tillman Fertitta as an honorable mention because he's also a fellow NBA owner with the Houston Rockets. But my point is, leverage is how you can get to where you want in a much less complicated way, right? Because I want to make sure we tie some of the topics that we covered from earlier as well. And if you have the proper leverage in the right social circle, circle in the form of environment and mentors, then you will greatly accelerate not just wealth, but your life in all different kinds of capacity. So I know this is a global summit, but for those of you listening, if you are any curious, if you have any interest or curiosity in what I'm talking about, you can feel free to hop into some of our firm's weekly sessions. This is where I started, okay? At night, we teach for 1 hour. In the mornings, we actually go live, we prove what we teach, and we make the money in front of you. And our whole thing is, if you do not see us make a minimum of $50,000 USD or more, you can feel free to never talk to us again. This is the bona fide hedge fund space. Unlike fellow fund managers that are super obsessed about growing their fund and AUM numbers, we're here to democratize access so the general public and people like you who are trying to figure out their lives don't have to have strong connections like a New York socialite to get it done. Again, we teach at night, but in the mornings, we separate ourselves from everyone else because we do it live in front of you. Remember, I come from surgery, so you can think about it like this. At night, we teach you surgery, but in the mornings, we actually do the surgery in front of you. Except, as opposed to doing surgery on a live patient in a live OR room, this is on the financial markets, futures and commodities specifically, right? And so I just want to thank all of you for showing up on a Tuesday before Thanksgiving where you could be doing a whole lot of other things. I want to thank you, all the lovely ladies, for including this token gentleman from Kansas, Overland Park, Kansas. I love my state so much. And I wish the best for all of you because all of you here deserve it. And do not let anyone tell you otherwise.
Ah, definitely
Thank you,
brought the
Phil.
energy. Definitely. Yeah. Do we have any questions? We have a couple questions based on what he was talking about. So he's talking a lot about leverage. Obviously, he dropped in the workshop and the free resource. Yep. Love that you brought all the energy. Any questions? Man, I'm sure you got a question or two. I love that you spoke about leverage. It's like,
I know leveraging. Well, Lynn and I talk a lot about leveraging, but leveraging is a huge part of obviously of your financial portfolio, of your business network, of your growth trajectory. So I guess my question for you, Philip, is where do you feel like someone should start? Somebody who's newer to investing, newer into the market. Do you feel like the best way to start is with the educational aspects that you talked about earlier, or is there somewhere else they should be starting?
Yeah, I think you should always reference substance in the form of a real world, right? So start by researching the fellow billionaires whose name I mentioned: John Arnold, James Simmons, Stephen Cohen, Stephen Schofield, and Ken Griffin of Citadel. again, if we did not just study whatever we studied from K to 12, but we studied real wealth, and you go ahead and you study Forbes and you research the biographies of all those people that I mentioned, that's going to give you great insights on how private wealth is structured and created. And I think that's a great objective first step, right? Outside resources. And of course, for those interested, feel free to come learn, right? All of you here have that my complimentary invite to join us for about 2 weeks or so at zero obligation. But yeah, you gotta look up the hedge fund space, and you gotta I would say start with a book called More Money Than God. It is a very, very, very eye-opening book. Just in the intro itself, it outlines the discrepancies of wealth created by hedge funds versus your typical investment banking and or the investment bankers, and also your private equity barons. I mean, it is night and day. I think there was a section where they were talking about J.P. Morgan. And J.P. Morgan, accomplished all these things, and then Goldman Sachs CEO was Lord Blankfein was rewarded like $40 million, but the number 25 guy on the hedge fund list made like 5 times what he made. And he's the bottom 25th guy, right? So again, there's really exciting things that I'm passionate about, because you won't know this until you know the right people.
We can tell you're passionate about it. It's putting such a smile on my face. I love it when people are super passionate about their knowledge, their business, the direction, being able to share it, their accomplishments, and definitely can feel that. Any other questions for Jayhawk? Awesome.
No?
Okay.
Well, if you think of anything, I know one of the things that always happens when I am at a summit, when I'm processing for information, is that I think of a great question 10 minutes after this person has left the stage. So if you think of anything later, feel free to drop it into the chat. We can always circle back around to it. I know it's very overwhelming information. You are correct, Kirk. We want to circle back though. So if you think of things, or if you're watching the replay and you have additional questions, we will be giving everybody's contact information. So feel free to reach out to our speakers, to reach out to their programs, to take advantage of the freebies that they're giving you, because that's where we see more growth. Again, that's putting in that action after the fact.
Absolutely. All right, let's give it up for Philip Jayhawk. Thank you so much for jumping on.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Excellent. All right, we're going to go